is the red flag law? Your kid has a toy and he starts hitting another kid with the toy, right? Are you just gonna let that happen? No, you're gonna take the toy away from the kid and you'll be like, hey, as soon as you can be nice with the toy, then you can have it back, right? Yes. So that's kind of what the red flag law does. So the red flag law, so if you have someone that came up to you and was like, I'm thinking about hurting myself, or now this is a real situation that had happened. I'm actually thinking about shooting up my old boss because he was mean to me and I didn't like that. And then I got fired. So I'm thinking about actually shooting him. Okay. So what they do is they actually are like, okay, these people too, they are not mentally ill enough to go in to a facility. So they're not, unless they check themselves in, they are just like not, they're not mentally ill enough to go into a facility. So what they do is if they've told someone like, hey, I'm thinking about harming myself or others, um, you would call the police and let them know, like, hey, someone's about, talking about harming themselves or others. And so they would come in and take their gun from them for a little bit. And then in about 3 weeks' time, they can go to a judge and be like, hey, I'm feeling okay now. Can I have my gun back? And then the judge will kind of determine from there. Okay. So, with that, and use California as an example because we actually did a poll on them. So, California had 200 in 2020. There was 200 people that had the red flag law interacted on them. They said, I'm going to harm someone or myself or others. And so they went ahead and were like, all right, well, we're going to take your guns from your home. And then, when you're mentally stable again, you can have them back. So they did a poll on those 200 people. 56 of them said that they were planning a mass shooting. 56 were planning a mass shooting. Holy shit balls. Like, I'm sorry, but that's a ton. And okay, out of those 200 people, 200 of them are still alive today. So we potentially just saved 200 people's lives plus some. And I know what you're going to say. It's my rights, it's my gun, you can't take it away from me. It's a constitutional right. Can't do that. Okay. What about my rights as a human being? Because all it would take for me is to be in the wrong place at the wrong time, or your family member to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. Hell, yourself to be at the wrong place at the wrong time. Well, I have a gun on me. I'm not worried about that. Really? Because all it takes is one shot, and for them to hit faster than you can draw your gun out, for them to, boom, you're dead. Pro gun owners that are against this red flag law. Besides my rights, Constitution, please give me another reason why this is a bad idea. Because I've seen from the science that we have that there are 200 people that we have saved, plus 56 mass shootings that we have potentially prevented just in California alone. I want to talk about this real quick. So there are 19 states from 1999 that have implemented this law. And I just recently found out about this law. I don't think a lot of people actually know that it's there. 19 states that have approved of this law. There is one that is an anti-red flag law state. Can you guess what it is? And it's not Texas. In 1999, Connecticut became the first state to enact the red flag law. And this happened because of the rampage shooting at the Connecticut lottery. So, and then Indiana adapted it in 2005. And they actually call it Jake's Large Law because that happened after an Indiana police was fatally shot by a mentally disturbed man. So then California, Washington, Oregon. Now, California, now this red flag law before was you can just call on someone. Flag law, you could actually, it was before you just call the police and you let them know, like, hey, I'm worried about this person's well being, just kind of keep an eye out. Now, California was the first state that came forward and was like, yeah, we're going to actually remove the guns from the home. And that happened after the threat from Elliot Rodger when he committed that mass shooting. So, and this petition, so you can actually, so most of the time in most states, they will take away your guns for about 3 weeks. And then you go to a judge, and if you're like, all right, I'm good now, can I have them back? And the judge sees that, you know what, you are good, then they'll give them back to you. Now, if they have any concerns and they're like, yeah, no, I don't feel comfortable of giving you these, they can enforce the law up to 12 months. And so before 2018, only 5 states had some version of this red flag law. But after the Stoneman Douglas High shooting in Florida, then Florida actually has this law. Vermont, Maryland, Rhode Island, New Jersey, Delaware, Massachusetts, Illinois, District of Columbia all have that law. And then, so New York finally got that law as well. Colorado, Nevada, and Hawaii interacted those laws in between 2019 and 2020. New Mexico in 2020 became the 18th state to have a red flag law. So Virginia originally, when the states were controlled by the Republicans, they voted down the red flag law. But after that Virginia Beach shooting, Ralph Northam was a Democrat, and he was like, guys, we're not saying that we are going to take away your guns. We're just saying, like, if someone says, I'm going to hurt myself or others, that maybe we should listen to them and like take their guns for a minute until they feel mentally safe and then give them back. That's all. And ESOR, which is the Emergency Substantial Risk Order, that was finally voted into the Senate in 2020 as well. And yeah, so a lot of these states actually denied the red flag bill or red flag law before it got approved. Like several times it had been denied. Here's the effects. Okay, here's one study done. In 2016, there was a study published in the journal that analyzed that there were 762 guns that were removed under Kentucky for suicide or mass shooting related, right? 11 of those guns, 11 were for suicidal only. The rest were for suicidal and mass shooting. A study in 2018 actually was published, also in the journal, that utilized the CDC data from all suicides in 50 states from 1981 to 2015, examined the effects of the Connecticut and Indiana's risk-based firearm seizure law from suicidal rates. The research actually concluded that Indiana's firearm seizure law associated with 7.5 reductions of firearm suicides and reduced 13.7 mass shootings. Let me just take a second. I'm not anti-gun. You want to own a gun? I don't care. Doesn't bug me one bit. But you look at the scientific evidence, look at the data. Please explain to me, what harm does it do to take away a gun from someone that has said out loud, I'm going to shoot myself and others? Just for a little bit, until they mentally get the help that they need, or they calm down or whatever. Because you know what? A lot of these decisions are made off of emotion, not logic. And if you actually are a neurologist, but I have heard from neurologists that, you know, we work differently when we're talking under emotion and when we're talking in logic. And our brain acts differently and makes different decisions with those. And in 2023, so the review by the Rand Corporation actually concluded that there were, in fact, 62% of US gun deaths were suicide. And the potential that the red flag law to prevent suicide could be so valuable. And that is more valuable than preventing. They said preventing mass shootings, but at the same time, like, okay, you gotta think. And if you haven't ever talked to anyone who's dealt with suicide, who has lost a loved one with suicide, okay, talk to them. Talk to them. I know people have dealt with suicide, suicidal thoughts and suicidal tendencies that will tell you today, I'm so glad I didn't do that. I'm so glad I didn't act on my emotions at the time. I'm so glad I had someone that reached out to me. And then talk to those people who have lost a loved one to suicide and ask them, hey, your brother, sister, friend, loved one came to me and told me that this was happening, and I could have called the cops and they could have taken away their guns until they felt safe again. Would you think that was a good idea? Of course they're going to say yes. Of course they are. We only have one chance at this life. One chance. One chance. And going off of depression and emotion to make a lifelong decision, I don't see the problem with this. I wouldn't even say that we're taking away your guns. I would say we're holding them for you until you feel safe, until you feel safe again. That is the red flag law. We are going to hold your guns for you until you feel safe mentally enough that you are okay, that you are not going to hurt yourself or others. And I can't fathom what is so wrong with that. What is so wrong with that? So I did mention that there is one state that has an anti-red flag law that under no circumstance will you take their gun, and it's not Texas. In May of 2020, Oklahoma became the first state to enact an anti-red law. Prohibits state, city, county from enacting a red flag law. The problem with this isn't that they're just not going to take the guns away, because if you remember, red flag laws didn't start off with taking your guns away. It was simply calling the police and letting them know, I'm concerned about this person. This person may hurt themselves or others. The police are not allowed to enact. They're not allowed to react on that. They are not allowed to step in and be like, okay, thanks for letting us know, and we'll go over there and check on them and, make sure they're not gonna freaking kill themselves or others. I'd like to know, I know this is a little off topic of what I normally talk about, but I'd like to know what you guys think on this. What do you guys, and seriously, if you're anti-red flag law, why? Again, I've heard these. My rights, my freedom, constitutional right. I want something different. Give me something different. Give me something different. And as always, guys, just, fucking going.